Hey everyone, this is Cholera, and I have with me Klazart once again for another great dual commentary of the OSL games in the round of 16. Today we'll be casting some of the games from Day 2. Day 1 was just casted by Klazart. That was July versus Yellow Arnex, so go check that out if you haven't. And Game 2 here, Game 2 of Group B is Fantasy versus Tester here on, I believe this is Rise of Return of the King. Yeah. So we have Tester, the team captain of Istro here as the Protoss player. I really don't know anything about him. He's actually quite old. He's my age, and he really hasn't done much. But it's surprising he got it into the round of 16 here. He managed to beat out Hune and Midas in two best of threes in the round of 36. So maybe we'll be seeing something impressive out of this old veteran player.
Yeah, Tester starting up in red. I wonder if that's for that. That is look like a poster for Tester. I'm so strong. Tester is very strong. Let's hope he's strong enough to stand up to Fantasy, who's been in hot form for SK Team 1. He's been one of the top 3 players, and considering that their other 2 players are Bisu and Best, that's some achievement. Protoss versus Terran can always be enjoyable and usually provides for exciting StarCraft because the Protoss harass usually decides whether or not the game is going to be successful. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of build Tester goes for, what sort of strategy he employs. Certainly he isn't going for the early Bisu scout. Ironically, we're seeing the Terran player scout earlier than the Protoss player, which I think is very interesting. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing Tester play. I've actually never seen him play before. Fantasy's actually got his SCV in the middle just on the ramp, and looks like Fantasy's actually going to do a proxy rush. He's putting a barracks out in the middle of the map, and Tester hasn't scouted, so he might be in real trouble here, Cholera.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Bunker, Rax first against Zerg isn't even really called cheese because that's now become a kind of almost standard thing. Oh my god! But Rax first against Protoss is super cheesy, and what is going on? He's gone 12 Nexus. I expect this to be pretty much instant GG here, but it does look like, though, that he might actually scout this. I don't know if he'll be able to do anything in time, though, even if he does scout it. So he does scout it. He does have the scout on the SCV, who is, I think that was an 8-Rax build because it was up quite early. Although, actually, he might actually have gas going in this base, so it actually isn't necessarily an all-in rush there. I think it might have actually been a 10-Rax. Not sure. Was it Rax first, or was it Depot Rax, Klazart?
Yeah, I think it was actually it was a depot Rax. I definitely saw him starting to build a depot
so it wasn't,
in his main
okay.
before building Rax. And
then.
immediately he hasn't cancelled his Nexus. He's putting 2 gates down instead, and that's interesting. Meanwhile, Factory is going up for Fantasy, so Fantasy hasn't really put himself back if he isn't able to inflict too much damage from the Rax. But it is an advanced Rax. I guess it's more for floating purposes than anything else. But I did see him start to build a depot first, and the 2 gateways are down. So it's just a question of whether he's going to be able to deny any sort of harass and how much damage the Marines are going to do, because there are a couple of Marines from Fantasy heading down now. He's also got an SCV in play, and unfortunately for Tester, he doesn't really have anything. I think it might be clever of Tester to try and use that SCV to maybe block. He's only got the one. Actually, he's only got the one Marine. He is building a bunker. He's building a bunker within range of Tester's Nexus. And I haven't seen a Cybernetics core go up for Tester, so this is going to be interesting for Tester here if he's going to be able to save this Nexus or not. He hasn't produced anything yet. I'm sure he's going to have Zealots popping out, but those Zealots might not be out in time before the bunker goes down, and Tester's going to lose a couple of probes here if he's isn't careful.
Yeah, absolutely. He could, in fact, lose the Nexus. The Terran Bunker Rush is very strong because the SCVs, of course, will repair each other, and he really needs, like you said, Dragoons to deal with this. He is getting a Cybernetics core up, but it's all going to be about how much damage the Marines can do. We might see Tester running his Zealots in and out just to draw the fire of the bunker, which would be a very smart thing to do. But now a Vulture coming out for Fantasy, so Fantasy really laying the pressure here. And, we've seen Terran cheeses fail when they were supposed to win, like Light versus Tempest, for an example of great Dragoon play. But it doesn't look like this game will go the same way, though. I don't think, I don't think Tester will get to save his Nexus. And when he loses that Nexus, I mean, it's going to be pretty much over. Fantasy didn't go for a really all-in build like I thought he did. If he had gone for an 8-Rax first, or like a BBS, a Barracks Supply Depot, then he would be all in with his build. But right now, the fact of the matter is he's going to take down this expansion, and he's going to have tech up. So I don't see how Tester can come back from this.
Yeah, and this is why Bisu is so dependent on his scout, and why he's so insistent on getting that probe out as soon as he puts the pylon down to scout. The problem for Tester was he was a little bit too greedy. He wanted to get that Nexus down ASAP and get maximum yield for it, so he wanted to have every last probe mining for every single second that he could have it mining, which is why he didn't want to send the probe out to scout. And while he's paying the price for it, he's trying to maneuver a couple of Dragoons past the Vultures. One of the Dragoons trapped by the Vultures and got taken out, and that's going to hurt him big time, but he has managed to kill one of the Vultures and actually move out past the bunker, but the Marines are going to get set in, and meanwhile Fantasy has now got spider mines as well. So that Dragoon's stranded and is probably going to get taken down by the 2 Vultures, I don't see what Tester could possibly hope to do to come back in this game now.
Yeah, I mean, even speaking of Bisu would lose in this situation, to be honest. There is pretty much nothing he can do but delay the inevitable. I mean, I'm sure he, might decide to go for some tech, try to surprise Fantasy, try to kill him off in some kind of all-in tech attack or something like that, but it's not going to work. Fantasy is going to be way prepared for this. Fantasy knows he's way in the lead, so as long as he can just hold off, and there's still a Marine alive inside the base, wow. As long as he can hold off any kind of tech build, he'll be okay. And we are seeing some tech go up. That is a robotics facility going up there. So he is probably going to go for Reavers and then just try to do some kind of critical damage to Fantasy. But I doubt it will happen, though, because Fantasy, just look at him. He has his boxer-like look on right now. He looks very content, looks very happy. He is the young boxer, as they say, and right now he's just like Boxer. He's about to tear apart another Protoss enemy here.
Yeah, Tester, this is not really a contest, is it? The only reason the game isn't finished is because Tester doesn't want to concede. But Fantasy's got his Expo going up as well, and Tester still hasn't been able to push that bunker down, and even when he does take that bunker, he's got 4 Dragoons firing away at it now with only 2 SCVs repairing. He's slowly whittling the HP down on it, but even when the bunker goes down, there's spider mines that are going to be there that are going to prevent him from getting his Nexus down until that observatory is up and he's got a couple of observers out, and even then, he's going to be hopelessly behind. I just don't think you can recover from losing a Nexus so that you've actually invested into. The whole point of getting the Nexus down first is to give yourself an economic advantage and to concede the technology lead to your opponent to try and translate, or even the immediate military lead to your opponent, and try and translate the economy into a superior army later on, or to better upgrades. But the fact of the matter is that Tester is not going to be able to do any of that, and there's just no way he's going to win. Fantasy is just going to take his time, build up his economy, build up his force, and then when he comes with his push, ultimately, Tester's going to be wiped out. Unless, as you said, he can inflict some sort of massive damage with his Reaver, and his Reaver has. I think we've seen turrets go up for Fantasy already, so I don't really think that's going to be effective either.
Wow. And right now, I was just thinking right now, I mean, Fantasy's build there with the racks forward was really quite brilliant. I don't think he went 8 racks. He went, like we said, it was 10 racks. But think about it. Normally when a Protoss 12 Nexuses, unless the Terran's going for some kind of all-in racks cheese, they usually don't have as much success as Fantasy just had there. But just by the virtue that he sent out an early scout and he built his racks in a proxy location, he was able to do a successful bunker rush. Now, most times Terran would not be able to do a bunker rush if they started off with the 10 racks against the 12 Nexus. But in this case, because of that slight variation, Fantasy was able just in time to get the SCV there. Before the Zealots came out. That was absolutely critical, that the Zealots weren't there to kill off the bunker before it was done constructing, and that was the critical thing. I mean, Fantasy's little forward racks thing, maybe other Terrans will start doing that in the future if they want to play an aggressive opening. It's actually quite good if you don't want to wall in. I mean, you might as well just move your SCV in the middle if you want to be aggressive, and it's very good, as we can see here, against this kind of 12 Nex build.
Well, there's a couple of things that we have to keep in mind. First of all, the base positions. His SCV found his Protoss opponent straight away,
yeah,
and he was scouting in a clockwise direction. So had Red been at the 1 o'clock position instead of the 5 o'clock, sorry, had Red been at the 11 o'clock position instead of the 5 o'clock position, then he would have had to go all the way around the map, which would have given Tester the time he would have needed to get the Zealots out to prevent the bunker rush. So, similarly, even if he had been cross map, it would have been difficult because he would have had that much longer distance to traverse with his SCV to actually find his opponent. And the other problem was that Tester didn't scout. So I think
no, he did scout.
Obviously, Fantasy
Tester scouted it. He did
Tester
scout.
No, Tester scout was. Well, sorry, he scouted the racks, but his scout was very late. He could have seen it much earlier if he'd sent his probe out earlier.
Yeah.
He didn't actually send out a scout till he was pretty much setting up his expansion, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he actually sent that. Yeah. Exactly. So he used this Nexus probe. So that's a very, very late scout, in my opinion, against a Terran player. And I don't think we would see Bisu doing something like that. And that's why Bisu plays so much better when he gets a scout against his opponent. There's a reason behind it. Protoss players, if you're watching, there's a reason why it's a good idea to send your your pylon probe to scout.
Yeah, I mean, usually it is quite rare to see Terrans go for that kind of aggressive marine attack. Long are the days when Flash used to do that, to beat Bisu, for example. Quite ironically, as obviously because Flash managed to propel himself into the main stage by beating Bisu with a lot of cheese way back in 2006 or something, or early 2007. Anyway, here we're seeing the Reaver in the shuttle with probably 2 zealots, and the thing is, it's not doing anything. I don't even know if he's tried to harass. Here comes Fantasy trying to harass with his vultures. Not going to be too successful, though. Probably going to get cut down after taking down maybe 4 probes or so. But although that is probably a good trade, though, Fantasy is very far ahead economically. Even though Tester has picked up his second base, just look at that mass of tanks there that they're trying to show us. That is so many tanks, and Fantasy will probably be moving out right now, and I don't see Tester managing to hold this back unless, like I've been saying, he manages to do something incredible with his shuttle micro there.
Yeah, the only thing Tester can hope for is to try and delay this push as much as possible, and then hope that when the actual battle happens, he manages to somehow win up by some miracle. I think the only way Tester could win is if he had a few well-placed storms and managed to land the storms on masses of tanks as they move forward. That's the only way he would be able to cancel out, but he's in no position to get that anyway since he's gone for the Reavers. But the crucial thing for me is that he's gone for the Reavers in the shuttle, but he's done nothing with them, and now he drops
Yeah, I know.
he drops quite an impotently pathetic Zealot bomb on the siege tank that does pretty much no damage, and he gets one Reaver shot off. He is so far holding the Terran player back in his base, but it's just a question of the Terran player getting critical mass before making that final push to kill him off.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, with just a couple more vultures, I expect Fantasy just to unsiege and move. He could probably defeat the Protoss army unsieged. That is how strong he is right now. And yeah, just look at him. He's got more tanks than Dragoons at this point. It's just really not going to work out here. And here comes a shuttle going for another Zealot bomb. Okay, that one actually was pretty good. It's forcing Fantasy to put up these turrets at least, which is slowing him down a little bit. Meanwhile, we did see Tester put up his expansion at the corner of his base. Of course, that protected Mineral only, but it only gives you about 5 or 6, I don't even know how many patches. Anyway, my final point about the forward racks is that you're right that the position was very fortunate for Fantasy, but had he put the racks in his base, that kind of bunker rush would definitely have been impossible. So, a 1 in 3 chance of killing off your opponent's Nexus and pretty much winning the game by doing it is a pretty good chance, I'd have to say. Although, it's not going to be standard for most maps. I do see it if your Protoss opponent, if you think he's likely to go for that, I do think it's a good position to put it because you don't really have that much to lose by putting your barracks up in front. You're going to be a little bit slower because your SCV will have to take longer to build the barracks, but that's pretty much it. And you won't be able to wall in, of course. But if you don't mind those two things, then it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, with any tactical decision in StarCraft, there's always trade-offs and benefits. The benefits are obviously if your opponent does go for a 12 Nexus and you catch him in time in a decent position, you're going to be able to inflict serious damage on him. And I think looks like he's saying PPP.
What?
Oh, looks like we've
pause.
got a pause here from.
Oh.
Yeah, looks like we've got a pause here from Tester. I think he just doesn't want to lose.
Oh man.
He just doesn't want to lose. Oh,
oh, there we go. They
resumed.
skipped the pause. Good. Yeah.
Six Dragoons die as the game gets resumed. That was pretty pointless, just running 6 Dragoons into sieged tanks. I don't know exactly. I don't think he inflicted any damage whatsoever on Fantasy's forces. And he's asking for another pause. This is just getting desperate. He should just accept that he's lost this game anyway. Why is he just wasting everyone else's time?
I don't know.
You think he's trying to get a rematch somehow? He might be trying to say there's some problem with his computer and that he should get a rematch.
Yeah. He wants to say his hands are cold. That's my excuse. My hands are cold. I can't play. The booth's too cold. No. I don't know. It's definitely some kind of technical issue, and I don't think it's necessarily that big of one because it does look like this game will probably end the way... Oh, wait, no. I might be completely wrong. Well, since neither of us know Korean, what do you think it is, Klazart?
I'm assuming they're going to declare a forfeit on Tester's behalf and give the game to Fantasy. That's my assumption.
Yeah, that's probably
because it's just too far. It's too far in the game for a restart. There's no way they're going to restart. Fantasy has a clear and decisive advantage. So I don't think they're going to restart. I think Tester's going to be forced to concede.
Yeah, I mean that would be the assumption. Although I think he recovered just enough that he might challenge that, though. I mean, yes, Fantasy is advancing towards his base, but if there's a legitimate technical problem, there might be a rematch. I don't know, or maybe there'll just be maybe. Okay, no,
Oh, they
looks like we're
resumed.
actually
Here we
gonna
go.
just start. Oh, thank God. That would have been a pretty crappy end to a commentary of a pretty crappy game, to be honest, if that's how it ended. But no, looks like they're gonna continue, and looks like Fantasy's already set up his third. Tester, meanwhile, I don't think has set up his third yet. No, he's not daring to pick up his third, which would be at the 3 o'clock location. But obviously, since he doesn't have any map control, you can't do it. So Fantasy is going to be up one gas soon, up on the Protoss. Protoss has 2.5 bases. Fantasy has 3. Not looking good. Terran versus Protoss.
Yeah, and the other thing I've noticed is that Fantasy Shuttle spends a lot of time hovering over enemy positions. It's
Yeah,
not great. It's
testers.
not great multitasking. Sorry, testers. Yeah, it's not great multitasking by Tester, is it? With his shuttle hovering around. To be
No.
honest, this game was over probably in about the 5th or 6th minute, and since then, we've just been trying to fill the air. Not the best display of pro StarCraft. It's like a D Cup player playing against a pro player. Although Tester isn't a D. Obviously, I don't mean to insult Tester. He's a very good player, I'm sure. I just got caught with his pants down, unfortunately. But Fantasy has really made him look quite pedestrian in this matchup.
I mean, I think there is an argument that he could have delayed the coming up with a bunker with his probes. I mean, what do you think about that? He just attack with your probes, try to kill the Marines, and stop the SCVs because there's 2 Marines. You'll lose a lot of probes, but you might save your Nexus that way. Just delay for the Zealots to come out. I don't know. That might have been a better idea in retrospect.
Well, I think the key error was waiting till after he put the Nexus down to even send out a scout. I mean, imagine if he scouted in the wrong direction, he would have had no clue, and he
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's
have put
true.
those. He wouldn't have put those 2 gateways down as quickly as he did, and then he would have basically been dead anyway, and the game would have ended much sooner, and we probably would have all been better off for it. But all credit to Fantasy, he played some good StarCraft.
Yeah,
Too bad Tester couldn't provide more of a.
more
I
resistance.
think it's probably, yeah, right. I think it's probably safe to say that Tester's not going to be making it out of this group.
Yeah, it's surprising he made it in anyway. I do have a theory that the captains of the teams are generally their worst players, and I have no idea why they're captains. You can use Exhibit A, Zergbong as the captain of KTF, for example. Exhibit B, TT as the captain of Samson Khan, and Exhibit C, GG coming from Tester as his massive frontal attack completely fails. There are some examples, counterexamples though. Hwason is actually, believe it or not, the captain of STX. So there are a couple of counterexamples, but most times the captain is just some random guy who's horrible. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Not GG, but GG, I guess.
Yeah, GG. We'll see you next game.